it's a really good time to consider next steps for your cannabis and hemp milling process. And part of what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about what you should look for when you're picking a mill for your operation, whatever kind of operation that is. So the different types of mills, the different criteria that are going to help you dial in what's going to be the best fit for what you need. In the context of that, we're gonna cover a little bit of the art and science of blending. We're going to talk about milling for pre-rolls versus extraction, some of the difference there. And we're also going to touch on milling fresh frozen material. I know that's a newer topic, but there's a lot of buzz around that. So we definitely want to give some attention to this topic. Can we switch to that next slide? Yeah, so we're hosted by Brett Lane. He has the title of the most glorious hair in all of Canada. You'll see that as soon as he pops up on screen. And our guest star is Terry Leaflang, a 7th level mill master. He's taken many, many years to get that title, very hard earned. And she's actually the designer of our mill here at Mobius, the M210. So he's going to be able to provide a lot of context for somebody that has been working on these types of machines right from the very start, especially for specific to the cannabis and hemp industry. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Brett and Terry, I'll let you guys take it away.
You got it. Thanks a million, Jonathan. Hey, everybody. This is Brett here with Mobius. This is now my 3rd webinar, so thrilled to be here, thrilled to cover this topic. We get a lot of questions that hopefully we're going to answer today, and it is my distinct pleasure to introduce everybody to Terry Leaflang, my colleague, one of the funniest deadpan fellas you're ever going to meet, and just a fountain of knowledge when it comes to milling and a bunch of other stuff. So, hey, Terry, welcome aboard.
Hey, thanks. Welcome aboard to everyone else. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your time. Just quickly, I'm Terry. I'm one of the founding fathers here at the East Coast location of Mobius. Got about 20 years of design experience in the food and pharmaceutical industry. I take care of a lot of the design projects here at Mobius, as well as new product development. And yeah, I've been in the cannabis space for since probably 2014 when Canada brought in the MMPR, and the kind of the large scale licensed production started to roll out. So a little background on me, and yeah, look forward to joining us.
That's wicked. Awesome. Okay, guys, let's jump right on into it. So what we're going to be covering today, the factors that you want to consider and compare when shopping for a mill. So sort of the top 7 that we picked off here, you may or may not have other considerations, but certainly on our radar is the type of mill, heat generation, particle size distribution, throughput rates, material condition, the design and construction of your mill, and the cost versus value conversation, let's say. So first off, we'll deal with mill types. So there's a bunch of different types of mills out there, different styles, originally designed and intended for different applications. Some, as they relate to the cannabis and hemp space, are adaptations from agri or pharma, and very few, such as our own M210 mill, are actually developed for this industry in particular. So the styles of mill available to you out there, let's start at the top with the M210, a rotor style mill. So the rotor style mill, basically you have a rotor blade that's forcing the material through a screen with specified size apertures. So nextly, you're looking at a cutter style mill. We hear a lot of buzz about the Fritch out there. Fantastic laboratory pharmaceutical sort of a mill that will kind of pulverize everything. Some people have some success with it in cannabis. Others have discovered its shortcomings. With a cutter style mill, you'll see that it's a very high RPM churn rate that cuts the material up until it can fall through or be vacuumed through a screen. So a shortcoming with a cutter style mill might be that once it achieves the particle size that can fit through that screen, if that thing's spinning at several hundred or even a couple of thousand RPM, that material might get chopped many more times before it has a chance to fall through the screen. So particle distribution becomes an issue there. Hammer mills, those are, I mean, just what it sounds like. It's a hammer. It's or a set of hammers that basically pulverize material. I think that's more intended for like grains and that type of a thing, aggregates and that type of a thing. Then we got our plastic whip style mills. A big brand out there would be Futurola. So they've got like the weed eater, whippersnipper type flails. And that's more like a pulse style mill where the operator has to be pretty sure what they're doing in terms of how long they process a batch in there at a given time. And shortcomings of that style of mill, you get really inconsistent particle distribution. You might produce dust out of some of that batch and have big lumps that are not down to the size you need for others. For the next three, I'm going to get Terry to touch on, please. Take her away, Terry.
Yeah, absolutely. So conical grinder. So kind of a similar to design to a rotor mill. Conical grinders, though, generally they still are high speed, a lot smaller surface area. And they're a little bit tricky for cleanability and setup. So the other thing, kind of a new one to the scene, is dual shaft shredders. We've been very involved in dual shaft shredders. Originally used a lot in waste destruction, but now we're actually seeing the use of them in milling or grinding for shredding biomass and primarily to a larger particle size for like a cold pass ethanol extraction. Not so much for a real accurate and fine grind. And then food processors. I mean, when I started visiting different clients for milling, a lot of them were using small blenders, ninjas, rotocoops. Some sites had dozens of them lined up in rooms just milling that way. There is large commercial food processor or blenders available, like a Hobart style or again rotocoop. They're always batch style again. So your dwell time or your pulse time is very important. The blades are generally very sharp, so a little bit dangerous for cleaning, and again they also run at high speed, so product degradation is always a risk.
Right on. So like that dual shaft shredder you alluded to, a popular brand you'll hear out there is Terminator's dual shaft shredder, awesome for biomass, etc. But bottom line here, whatever the mill type is that you investigate and decide on, make sure it checks all the boxes for you in terms of usability, product consistency, etc. A little bit of due diligence here will get you set in the right direction. So next, let's talk about heat degradation. So one of the design elements that's really core to the Mobius M210 mill is the fact that it has a very low RPM churn rate. So it really makes sense if you think about it, whether you're a small operation with a couple of grow rooms at a small facility, or whether you're literally $1 billion installation. You've spent all kinds of money on your infrastructure, your lights, your manpower and growing, and you've lovingly cared for this plant all through its cultivation, and to the point of you're about to cross the finish line and send it to market. So the last thing you want to do right before you take your product to market is subject it to damage, and heat is a big one in the cannabis and hemp space. Heat degradation is a real villain, and it's not necessary. With the M210 mill, the real secret sauce is, rather than having a churn rate in the hundreds of RPMs or even indeed in the thousands of RPMs, the M210 mill was designed with a variable churn rate from about 0 to 60 RPM, but emphasizing a larger surface area. Would you like to touch on that design element, Terry, and how that came to be?
Yeah, for sure. So, early on, we identified kind of a major gap in the industry was milling. There was a lot of clients were using different products just as gap fillers, but having a hard time achieving a consistent particle size, having non-sanitary equipment or even unsafe equipment. So, there was really no solution. Everything else that anyone was using was just a crossover from another industry, and we saw a huge opportunity, and started doing some trials and testing with milling technology, and the M210 came to be. As far as I know, it was the first purpose-built mill on the market for cannabis. And again, it addresses that, that heat degradation. We use a large screen, low RPMs to get a pretty impressive throughput. We've kind of got away from some of the other mills have tight tolerances, a lot of setup. We've got away from that. We had, some other goals. We don't want a lot of, operators to be doing any setup or setting gaps and clearances, and we wanted something that was simple to clean, sanitary, and easy to use. So I think we've hit the nail on the head with the M210, and our clients are coming back to us saying that. So.
Yeah, that's wicked. We get so zero heat degradation. You don't get any heat gain inside that drum. Is that correct, Terry?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's just the stainless is naturally a bit of a heat sink. So any heat that does happen to generate, it's absorbed by the stainless. The stainless is just cool to the touch, and yeah, because of the low speed, just kind of working product against product. We're not creating heat, and not kind of destroying those terpenes, and drawing out that resin.
Yeah, through that heat degradation, my understanding as well, and I got to claim a bit of ignorance here, but I've learned a thing or two over the past couple of years working here. That heat degradation can really transfer when you're talking about extracts and that type of thing into sort of more your root beer browns versus your golden honeys and that kind of thing, hey?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm kind of the same. I'm definitely not a connoisseur by any means, but yeah, it's definitely important to keep that product as cool as possible, to keep preserve those flavors and properties.
Right on. So for your best marketability on your flower there, everybody, make sure that whatever you select going forward isn't going to degrade your product through heat generation. Let's jump on into particle size distribution. Okay, so particle size distribution, basically it's a fancy term that translates to how consistent is the particle size you're trying to achieve. So whether you're looking to get a 600 micron particle size or a 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch particle size, whatever size you choose, that's the size you want. And so particles distribution is a really, really important thing to consider, and it's tough to achieve with your pulse and your batch styles out there. So with most of the mills out there, it's left to chance. With the M210 being forced through whatever screen you select, you're going to get excellent particle distribution with minimal fines. Let's just pop on to the next slide there.
As we're switching slides, one other interesting particle distribution I heard just recently. One of the states that's coming online here in the next little while, they're actually going to have a regulation for ground flour. So all flour at the point of sale will have to be ground. They won't be able to sell finished flour. It'll have to be milled product. And right now the conversation is about a 1/4 inch or smaller particle size. So it sounds like in that state, if that moves forward, you're going to have to, by regulation, control your particle size, not just by process.
Hey, great point, Terry. That puts into mind a phone call I had, I'm going to say probably about 2 weeks ago. And I think it was New Jersey. I could be wrong on that, but they alluded to the same thing where it was regulatory, and it was in relation to extracts. It wasn't to finished, flour, but in terms of extracting, it had to fall into those very specific particle parameters. So yeah, good point. I totally forgot about that. Mm-hmm. So particle size distribution, the name of the game here is to, have in a hockey term, a high percentage play. So a characteristic of the M210 mill here, as you can see on the slide, the bell curve indicates that about 80% of the material that you mill through the M210 is going to fall in the 75 to 85% of the screen size, and the rest would be in fines and large. So for example, when milling with a 2 mil rasp screen, 80% of what you're milling is going to fall between 1.5 and 1.7 mils. So that's pretty spectacular. The remaining 20% of material will be in the distributed within fines, which are defined as, you know, below 75% of your screen size, and max particle size, meaning greater than 85%. Up to maximum screen size. So particle distribution is a real big thing that you're going to want to assess. What can your investment deliver to, and how is that going to translate to your ratios of target particle size versus fines, etc. Anything to add there, Terry, before we pop on to screen size options?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
I don't think so. Just a matter of optimizing for the, you know, the desired process that leads into this this slide.
Perfect. So you want some versatility out of your machine. We see a ton of operations out there that are not a one-trick pony. They're doing everything from smokable flower to pre-rolls to multiple different technologies of extraction all under one roof. So you want some variability in your product. So certainly you can get that variability from a pulse style or a batch style if your operator is pretty fantastic at what they're doing and runs into some pretty good luck, but you're still not going to get that even particle distribution. One of the beautiful things about the M210 is the variable screen options. So we offer 5 different screens in 2 different styles. A couple of our 2 smallest ones are a rasp style, generally more appropriate for pre-rolls. And then our 3 larger sizes are a perforated style, and they're generally more appropriate for extracts of varying technologies. And we've got a sizing chart there that's available on our website to help you select, or at least direct you to the direction that you may want to go in selecting your mill size for a particular application. So the beautiful thing about these screens, they're plug and play, open the door, slide one out, slide the next one in, and close the door and you're off and milling again. So make sure that when you're investing your money in your mill, you've got the versatility that you need and you don't just wind up being a one-trick pony with that piece of machinery.
And Brett, actually, maybe you and Terry could just give a little more depth on what exactly is a rasp versus a perforated screen. What does that mean? What's the difference between the 2 types?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So
go take it away, Terry.
For sure. So a rasp screen, perforated screen, I guess, is more straightforward. It's essentially a flat plate with holes punched in it, round circular holes with kind of as much open area as possible of different sizes. And then a rasp screen. So we kind of searched the globe for this one, and it's similar to a cheese grater. It's a rough surface. It's almost like an expanded metal, but it doesn't have the same kind of sharpness and inability to clean. Yeah, rasp screen. Yes, it's kind of a rougher grater-like surface, and you really see the benefits of the rasp as you go to the finer particle sizes. The rasps in the larger particle sizes don't seem to be as crucial to get the throughputs, but once you get into those finer particle sizes, the perforated just don't perform quite as well, and the rasps seem to kind of perform throughput wise. And I guess to talk a little bit more about a lot of our clients are vertically integrated, like you were saying, Brett, and we're even seeing originally it was just people interested in mills for CO2 extraction, and ethanol came online, hydrocarbon came online. Now pre-rolls are probably one of the biggest milling requirements, but the other ones, some of the other concentrates like dry sift and bubble hash. I know a lot of the companies are legislated to be vertically integrated in certain states. So the more products that you can provide, the more diverse you can be. Even just milled product, for an example, selling raw milled product. there's a lot of different products and different ways to make them.
Cool. That was from Scott. Scott, if that didn't answer your question, just hit us up, info@mobiustrimmer.com. We'll make sure to get you the answers you're after. We also had a question from Lawrence, and he was asking what screen size and type will be best for solventless extraction.
Yeah, so I guess solventless being like a dry sift or a bubble hash, maybe. I'm assuming that would probably kind of a middle of the road, medium, maybe a fine rasp. I guess it would all just depend on kind of how your process works. But I would say kind of a middle of the road.
Okay.
You want to break it down enough, but maybe not necessarily to that super fine level.
Got it. Okay, thanks very much. And actually, Courtney King had a question specific to the M210, but it relates to this, and that's when you purchase an M210, are these screens included? Are they sold separately, or can you buy replacements? What do you do here?
Sure. So if you have a look at the slide deck there, we have the 5 different screens, and there's stars beside 3 of them. So the finest, the coarsest, and the medium come with the machine, and the other 2 are available to purchase as accessory items. In addition to that, on an occasion or two, for those of you who don't know what the Mobius company is all about, we do everything in-house. We are our own design, our own manufacturer, metal fab, you name it, machining. If we can do it, we do it. And so to that end, Terry, there's been an occasion or two where you've been called upon to produce a custom screen size for an end user. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to date, we haven't found a top size limit. I know we talk about 3/8, kind of our standard screen selection tops out at 1/4 inch. We do have a few 3/8 screens here that are in stock, but we've done trials even larger, and we haven't found really any top limit to our sizing. Just kind of a top limit to maybe our client needs. We haven't seen anyone looking for much more than 1/4 to 3/8. So that's kind of the top end. But yeah, for sure, we can do a screen with a smiley face cut in it if that's what the client wants.
I think the product produces enough smiley faces on its own.
I got 2 more quick questions, guys, and then we'll keep moving. And you guys can keep those questions coming. I'll just take a note of it as we move along. First of the 2 was from Carrot. So in the example we gave was 1.5 millimeter to 1.7 millimeter, and 75 to 80% falls within that range. So he's basically asking, well, what about the rest of it that's not right in that range? What size do they get to, and how common is it to be really far out?
Yeah, so it's pretty common, this kind of distribution in all screen sizes. Obviously, it's going to change so much based on your moisture content, your product, whether it's a light fluffy CBD or a really dense THC bud. But we do find kind of on average this kind of a particle distribution is pretty common right across the board. So I mean, if you're going to have a 6 mil final particle or screen size, you're going to have kind of a 80% in that 4 to 5 mil range. And again, same smaller. If you get the 1.6, you're going to be in the 1 to 1.2, whatever, 60 to 80%, 75 to 80% of the screen size. So that particle distribution kind of follows basically the kind of the screen size that we offer.
Cool. And then I think we kind of answered the last question. Oh, well, sorry, from Alan Corrales. He was asking about trials with solventless extracted material. He was interested specifically in bubble hash and wanted to know if we'd done any trials. Can you speak to that, Terry? And if not, I'm sure we can put Alan in touch with users that do this process.
Yeah, I know of a couple users that are. We haven't specifically done trials, but I'm not. I mean, But yeah, I think definitely let's take it offline, and we can put Alan in touch with some other mill users.
Sure, sounds good. So Alan, just send us over an email, info@mobiustrimmer.com, and we'll connect you with some other folks that are using their mills for producing bubble hash specifically. Okay, I'll keep recording the questions, and I'll turn it back over to you guys to keep it going.
Right on. Thanks, Jonathan. Okay, so let's jump into a really interesting topic here, guys. Blending and customizing. So this is a topic that I find, just anecdotally talking with people, will touch on this, and you see their eyebrows dip like they're, oh, hang on just a second. I never thought about that. So when you're choosing, what style of screen and what size of grind you're going to go with, one of the factors you might consider is blending, both in particle sizes and the ability to blend two different batches of cultivars, etc. So again, let's talk sort of the business case of things. What's really, really interesting to me is the ability and the infancy of producing a proprietary blend. So just like any other sort of a sin item, alcohol, tobacco, etc., let's do some direct comparisons there. So when you look at something like cigarettes, for example, you've got your Marlboro smoker, you've got your Camel smoker, and they're their own proprietary blends. That they can provide a consistent product, predictable, and if the client's buying it in Florida or they're buying it in California, they're expecting the same taste, the same smoke, et cetera, et cetera. And there's no reason why each pre-roll out there shouldn't be differentiating themselves proprietarily with their blends, and something like the M210 gives you the ability to do that. And I mean, you see that in wine, you see it in whiskey, even in craft brews, blending different ingredients together. And I think as this industry matures, we're going to see a heck of a lot more of that type of blending. A couple other reasons that you might want to blend. Terry, do you want to touch on a couple of examples there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, just different strains, different terpene profiles. We see a lot of blending for THC or CBD content. So, you maybe you have a super hot strain that you want to tone down a little bit, or maybe you didn't have a good crop with your 1-to-1 strain. So you can create a blended 1-to-1. Sativa and indica, we see it quite often. Someone wants a indica dominant or a sativa dominant strain to be blended into essentially a kind of a hybrid, and we see a lot of clients going that route. Homogenization is another factor. Sometimes you've got your really good plants right by the door under the best lighting that your master grower goes in and tends to every day, and then you get the other plants kind of in the back corner. Maybe they didn't get the same light, maybe they weren't quite as healthy. So you want to take your whole lot or batch and mix it, blend it, mill it, so that you've got your 20% THC right across the board. You don't want your first batch of pre-rolls to be in the 25 and your second batch to be in the 15% range. So those are a couple reasons that we see blending going on.
Yeah, and you know what? I could actually even mention something on the marketing side. I mean, as markets mature, depending on where you are, a lot of the same strains at the same shops for the same price. There's definitely some commoditization of the product. And so I think most people, when they think about creating something proprietary, I mean, right out of the gate, they're thinking about proprietary strains, and that's great. But you could also consider creating proprietary blends that you can use as a differentiator between your competition, specific blends that you have and nobody else has, your own brand, your own name that you can call your own. So just another way to hang your hat on something and create a differentiator and make yourself stand out from the rest of the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely, Jonathan. Hey, a couple other things to touch on. One other reason I heard of for blending different particle sizes. So you might have a mixture of a rasp milled product and say the smallest perf, the 1/8 perf, and whatever the proprietary ratio is, let's say 30/70 or whatever it may be. influences the burn rate. So you're not going to get big runs in your pre-rolls, and the end user is going to be happier with their smoke if it burns nice and consistently. So there's something that I've heard firsthand of end users experimenting with and hitting on a nice ratio of finer to coarser particle for a desirable burn rate. And another thing for me, like I'm always business minded. I always want to know, how do we make, let's face it, we're in business to make money. So how do we make the most money? And like, I love chocolate milk, and people say, don't touch chocolate milk, because that's how they get rid of their bad milk or their expire or whatever it is. They just dump a bunch of chocolate in, you don't notice it. And I don't really care. I like chocolate milk, but it's a great way to utilize your maybe your lesser quality. And Terry, you did touch on that in terms of homogenization. So homogenization is one thing, but I think a little bit separately is just from a sheer business standpoint, there is the possibility that you want to take some, let's face it, B grade and blend it in a small ratio, even if it's like 5% or something, with 95% A grade, and just to kind of hide it and make it marketable and sellable at that higher value. So number of great reasons for blending. So when you're shopping for your machinery, can you achieve blending with whatever it is that you're going to invest your dollars in? Great question to ask. All right, so next slide here, Terry. I'm going to be hands off on this one. You, as the seventh level, level 7 mill master, I'm going to just stand back and watch you fly on this one.
Right on. So yeah, throughput and material condition. So I guess to kind of start, batch style versus throughput, just a little introduction. So obviously batch style would be a blender, a whipper style, some sort of system that you're going to pulse. You're going to run it for, whatever it is, 1 second, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Basically, it's any type of system that you will load, you would process, and then you would unload. Batch systems, they're okay. They're usually more cost effective. But, you've got your fill time, your empty time. You've got your risk of over processing. There's some downsides. It does take a skilled operator, and you're not really going to have super consistent output. So if you flip that, look at a continuous throughput like the M210, you got a continuous feed. You put the product in the top, it comes out the bottom. You're gonna have a super consistent throughput. It doesn't matter who your operator it is. It doesn't matter, what time of day it is, who's running it. It's gonna always be consistent as long as you put that right screen in. You're gonna have the same output. You're going to have a higher throughput because you don't really see that downtime. The drum is milling all the time, and it functions. I would say it functions better for a continuous throughput type operation. Talking about fresh frozen. So I mean, this is a whole new topic. We've just kind of learned about fresh frozen the last year or so. Last harvest was pretty big for fresh frozen. We're starting to see a lot more larger outdoor production with smaller harvest windows. So this year we've got 2 clients who use the mill for exclusively fresh frozen. We've done a bunch of trials at some other sites up until last. I'm going to say like a year ago, probably, we didn't know what the mill would work like in fresh frozen. We were a little bit reluctant to even, discuss it, but we've had some pretty good successes. I mean, the particle size is, as long as the expectation isn't too crazy for particle size. If you're in that 3/16, quarter inch, 3/8 particle size, if you're going to extraction, fresh frozen in the M210 is it's definitely a viable option. Not in the kind of 500 to 600 micron. People who are doing some of the CO2 extractions or hydrocarbon, maybe not fresh frozen milling may not even be an option, but in the larger particle size, it seems to be working well. The kind of the beauty of fresh frozen is you can speed up your harvest. So you literally, chop, freeze, and then again, buck and mill downstream.
So all the advantages of the old school black market where you had to bucket and hide it in a barn without any of the detriment of over drying and all that, you can pick away at it at your leisure, really.
At your leisure, yep, for sure. And then processing material. So basically, the M210 inherently, because it is so gentle, it does not handle stems and stalks well. We're not going to hide it. We're definitely not here for hemp biomass users. We're not a stump grinder. We're not a wood chipper. This mill, the primary use is for flour, for finished flour, and it works amazing. A little bit of stalk, if the bud has a little core in it, or if you have a little stalk on the fan leaf, little stem on the fan leaf, that's not an issue. A stalk isn't going to damage the mill. It just doesn't process it. It essentially will kind of float inside the chamber and not process through. So that's stalk, stems, and material condition.
Wicked. Thanks, Terry. So I guess we'll pop into design and construction now. And I had kind of a follow-up question there about fresh frozen that I'd elected just to save for the next slide here, because I think it dovetails beautifully. So design and construction, so you want to keep a lot of the features in mind of the machine itself when you're buying it. And one of the great things about the M210 is it's not an installation piece. It's a mobile piece. It's very versatile for deployment all over the place. With a footprint of 28 inches by 28 inches, it'll roll through a man door and be deployable just about anywhere. So in terms of fresh frozen, Terry, I believe it's fair to say, elaborate on this if you can, you can roll that sucker directly right into the walk-in freezer. And as long as you got a decent jacket and whatnot on, you can be processing your fresh frozen right there in the freezer, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got one client who's doing it in a reefer van. No problem there, and it's actually preferred. I mean, fresh frozen. That is kind of the one difficulty is once you start processing, you have to process it as quickly as possible. It has to stay frozen. So as soon as you pull it out and start handling it, it starts to cool off or warm up, I guess, and then you run the risk of condensation. So the quicker you get that, or the cooler you keep it, or the quicker you get it processed, the better. So yeah, definitely a good point, Brett. It's important to have the option anyway to keep it cold.
Right on, and the ability to just plug it into a standard 110 outlet or extension cord obviously doesn't hurt matters in deployability in a situation like that either.
Actually, I just got two more quick questions regarding fresh frozen. It is a big topic and people want to know more. One was from Theo, and he's asking, theoretically, if you had a massive walk-in freezer, could you run this inside the freezer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Theo. And then Austin from Hydrobiller was asking if we have any accessories to keep fresh frozen material at a low temp. So I think I can answer that, or at least you guys can help me answer it. And the answer is no, we're not a refrigeration company, but certainly we can put you in touch with people that are doing this process and can help find out what might work for them so that you can figure out what will work for you. Does that sound accurate, guys? I
think that's fair. Yeah, we have looked at doing some things in the mill with CO2 or liquid nitrogen, and I mean the mill process is very, very well without it. So to date we haven't. It's definitely something that we'll continue to do testing in and unleash it if there's a huge benefit.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. So other elements of design and construction you want to take into consideration, depending on what jurisdiction you're in, you may or may not currently be subject to some pretty heavy duty legislation. But most likely, again, we're in the infancy of this industry, and as we get greater regional geographical legalization, be it across the state or globally, you're going to likely see more legislation coming through pertaining to GMP and safety compliance. So you want to take a look and see that the equipment you're using isn't going to mangle your employee's hand as he's trying to load it in there, et cetera, et cetera. And something that you'd hate to be 18 months down the road and discover that your the machinery that you invested in doesn't fit into a GMP qualified workflow. So both of those issues have been addressed with the M210. The all stainless construction is certainly a big help, and the safety features built in, the door interlock, if the door is open, it can't be turned on. Terry, you guys have done a fantastic job of designing guarding into it so that a person can't accidentally, jam their hand in there, etc. So those are a couple of considerations you're really going to want to consider in terms of a long-term investment. Cleanability. The M210 couldn't be easier to clean. Swing that door open and pop the door right off the hinges. Pull up a little spring pin and slide the rotor out. Grab the bottom edges of the screen, pull it out, pull the catch tub out. In as quick as I described it is literally as quick as you can disassemble this machine. 20 seconds, you've got it disassembled. With the all stainless construction, even if you're a small, not so well equipped outfit, hit it with your degreaser, super clean from Walmart will work just beautifully on it. A little scrubbing with a brush to get any buildup off, and a hose rinse, and you're golden. If you're kitted out a little bit more extravagantly, hot water on demand, pressure washer, what have you, hit the components with a pressure washer. Your cleaning can be done in 10 minutes and store it away. So can you get into the nooks and crannies of what you're buying? How much disassembly do you have to do? How much manpower and whatnot do you have to allocate hours wise just to the cleanliness, maintaining cleanliness on your machinery? Big consideration when you're doing your shopping. Calibration wise, I'm going to get you to touch on this one, Terry, because we always talk about preventative maintenance, kind of dovetailing with cleanliness, et cetera, and how important that is. So can you touch on what it takes to keep this machine operational, and what it takes to set it up at the beginning of your day, et cetera?
Yep, for sure. So one thing that people comment on is like, this thing is built like a truck. It's pretty tough. It's way overbuilt, and it's intentional. I mean, we over design equipment. We want this stuff to be tough. We want it to stand the test of time. So the M210, it's got a drive shaft in it. The rotor, everything's heavy duty. The body's 3/8 stainless. So we use sealed bearings. It's a fully sealed gearbox, 100% maintenance free. It's a 10,000 hour lifespan on the gearbox. We use a DC electric motor. It's got a 5,000 hour brush life, and I mean, we've got these things all over the world. Some of them touching on 3,000-4,000 hours, and they just chug away. I mean, they don't wear out. They're not operating super fast. They're not, they obviously they get loaded up. They work hard, but it's not that it's definitely capable of running that kind of 100% duty cycle. And then as far as setup, I mean, so you start your day, you've just finished cleaning the day before. You put the door back on, or if you didn't take it off, you open the door, you put the screen in, it sits in a groove, and you slide the rotor on, and it clicks into a groove. There's no calibration necessary. There's no setup other than just choosing the correct screen. You're not able to shut the door if the screen isn't in place properly, and then basically you just run. A lot of other mills, you know, they run super tight tolerances. You gotta calibrate the rotor, set the gaps. You know, there's sharp blades, knives, or some of the hammer mills. I mean, to do a GMP ready clean on them, you literally have to take the whole rotor head apart and clean every component. So that's it was one focus on this on the M210 is to make it you know, super user friendly for cleaning.
Well, that's wicked. So, you know, I think that dovetails beautifully into our next segment of cost versus value. And so, you know, when I hear plug and play, literally, the longest thing about assembling this machine is, you know, deciding which screen size you're going to use. So, literally, you could have material milled for hundreds of pre-rolls in the time that the guy with a competitive machine is still doing setup. So that dovetails beautifully into cost versus value. So this is, again, as a business-minded person, I always want to factor in all of the costs involved and all of the value realized to do a real true benefit analysis on whether or not this piece of kit is worth investing in or not. So if you take a look at cost versus value, the two are not analogous. You can't say one equals the other by any stretch of the imagination. If that were true, you would take your $20 coffee grinder that you got at Walmart and say, well, this is clearly the best value because it's the lowest cost, and obviously that's not the case. So when you're looking at cost versus value, yes, of course you want to look at your initial capital investment, but then you also have to look at what's it going to cost to operate it and maintain it. If something, you know, some piece of machinery takes 2 people to run versus 1, well, your labor costs are double. If you can achieve 5 times the throughput, then you're going to get 5 times more product to market and realize profits on 5 times more per hour or per day or whatever your parameters are. So these are things that you really want to consider when you look at the price tag at $29,400. The M210 certainly isn't cheap. So cost-wise, is it the best cost you can achieve? Heck no. Is it the best value? I would argue, heck yeah. Terry, I think you and I were talking about a gentleman you were speaking with at a trade show.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a fellow approach me at a trade show, and then, I mean, he didn't really ask too much about the machine, and he must have known about it, and he just said, hey, why would I buy a $30,000 mill, give or take, when I can go across the aisle and buy a $3,000 mill? And I said, well, you know, the product, the value is in the product that you're processing. It's not, don't worry about the equipment. He was looking at a batch style machine, and he ended up coming to me after, and he said, you know what? He says, you're right. I have destroyed batches. I've turned batches to powder using blenders. So, I mean, if you have a machine like the M210 that you're going to get a consistent output all the time, you're going to have, you know, more saleable product. You're going to have more valuable product, and you're not concerned with you know, destroying product. Again, we're talking about high value products, so it's not necessarily the cost or the price of the machine. It's look at what your output material is.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more on that. I was going to touch on one other point. It's just kind of lost, and oh well, instead of freaking out, I'll carry on to the next segment here. So you want to also factor in availability of tech support and spare parts. Are you going to have to be, you know, sending off to China to hopefully get something on a container ship in a couple of months that's what the part that you need, or are you going to be able to pick up the phone and get something, you know, next day in the event that something goes wrong? Now, Terry, you touched on, you know, this thing is built like an absolute tank, and, you know, the amount of tech support calls we get on this machine is somewhere south, you know, of 1 per quarter. Like, we never get tech support calls on this. It's beautiful. So it's pretty cool. I do recall now what I was going to touch on. Terry, you're talking about destroying your crop. To put this into perspective, it's not like you manufactured a product today and destroyed it tomorrow. you've got months of investment. Like your whole year in a lot of instances are dependent, your entire year's profit and wages and paying your mortgage and all the rest of it is dependent on not destroying this crop on the last day. So, I mean, that's a massive consideration. It's not like it costs you a day. It costs you a whole season or a whole growing cycle, potentially.
Yeah, and especially if you're processing a batch that's, let's say a 3 or a 5 pound batch, if you destroy 3 or 5 pounds of product, if you turn it to dust, I mean, it's not lost. There's going to be an opportunity to get some value out of it in whether it's an extract or a concentrate, but you've just missed the opportunity at let's say pre-rolls.
Yeah, and as the market becomes more and more let's say participated in, you need that added advantage to realize your profitability. And if you're milling mediocre, you're going to sell mediocre. So that's not sort of the business model you want to go to market with your product with. We touched upon the footprint of the mill and its portability. This thing is deployable anywhere in your production facility. We've got several users that might own 3 or 4 farms in a given region. They can wheel it up into their utility trailer and motor it a mile down to the road to their other farm. And again, it's not an installation piece. You roll it out of the trailer, plug it in, and you're away to go. So these are the types of things also that you're going to want to consider for your operation. Does that apply to you? If so, are you taking care of yourself in that regard? And then another point that this wasn't in the deck up until we did our dry run this morning. So Terry, thanks for bringing scalability to our attention. Can you touch on that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, scalability, we've tried to size the mill appropriately for kind of your average to slightly medium-sized, small production with an opportunity to scale. So, I mean, we had at one point a lot of calls. Do you make a bigger one? Do you make a bigger one? Is there something we need to process 4 times that much? And we've done a lot of invested a lot of time and a lot of resources in some prototype scaled up units. And what we found is bigger isn't better. As long as your expectations are that this machine is going to be used for premium flower or for smokable flower, for extract. Again, it's not a farm implement. We're not processing biomass. You're not going to take this out to the field and mill 100 acres with it in a couple days. Its intended purpose, again, is smokable flower prep for extracts and milling flower. Let's face it, cannabis is batch oriented, it's lot oriented, it's strain oriented. There's very seldom a case in kind of the cannabis or orchard hemp world where you have tens of thousands of pounds to process of the exact same lot strain batch. So I mean, client says he needs 4 times the processing size. Just buy 4. One machine, you get no redundancy. You're down when you're cleaning. You can't process different strains, different batches at the same time. We've got clients that have many of these M210s, and it gives them the flexibility to run multiple machines in multiple areas with multiple different setups, different configurations for different end processes. You start building a larger machine, or if you purchase a larger machine, you have to start to think about your components, your parts. A bigger machine is going to have bigger components and bigger parts. So then you have to be prepared to wash bigger components. You have to be prepared to handle bigger components. It gets tricky. And from what we've found in cannabis, a lot of technology doesn't scale. Milling specifically, just going bigger, a 2-time bigger machine doesn't get you 2-time bigger throughput. This M210, we've done a lot of testing and we've found the sweet spot. So the other thing that kind of dovetails in with that is the cost is not proportional. A 2 times bigger machine does not cost 2 times the cost. It actually costs probably 5 times or 7 times the cost. So what we've tried to provide with the M210 is the highest value per processing time, the highest value per pound. And I don't know, Brett, do you have? I know you've played this game a lot with the in the trimmer world. Do you have anything to comment on?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like to scale something up, it just doesn't. You know, I'm getting kind of lips from across the room. Same with trimmers. Yeah, totally. Like bigger is not always better, and we've got proof. Ask me about it. I've got case studies. However, you know, the other factor that really dovetails into that, Terry, your scalability for sure. Everything you said is totally on point, and I think you did a phenomenal job designing this machine. And like one thing that we touched on is the footprint. If you were to double the size of the machine, it's now an installation. You're not moving it anywhere, so it's now staying right where you are. So I think that basically wraps up our presentation for the most part there, everybody. Jonathan, I imagine we probably have a question or two to hit up.
Yep, absolutely we do. So kind of different questions across different topics, and I'll just fire them over and you guys let me know what you think. Courtney, so I think she might have just hopped off, but let's answer her question anyways. She was asking about starting material sizes, or at least ideal starting material sizes. So how much do you need to buck things up before they're going in? Do you have any suggestions there?
Yeah, sure. I think Terry touched on that earlier. Basically, you want a bucket. It's not made for branches and stalks. The stem associated with fan leaf is fine, and the stem that's, you know, at the heart of the flower is fine. But you pretty well, you know, it wants to be a buck product.
But like, I mean, if you have your prize top cola off of your plants, and they're, you know, they can be 2 or 3 inches around and you know, 6, 8. There's no real limitation as long as it's primarily just bud.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Hopefully that helps, Courtney. And William from Aloha Green, he was asking if we recommend any pre-roll machines that work well with our mill.
That's one for you, Terry, I hope.
Yeah, not really. I mean, there is a lot of pre-roll machines on the market. There's a lot more coming online, and I guess it depends. It depends a lot on budget. You know, there's the you know, the knockbox style and the you know, the manual box. There's fully automated pre-rolls. There's cones. We're starting to see now cylinder rollers. I think it's a lot depends on budget and you know, level of automation. Do we have one that we recommend? No, not really, but there is a lot on the market for sure.
And this next one is from Angelo. So he's wondering, and this is how it relates to fresh frozen product, and he wanted to know if there's any temperature thresholds that would impact the machine's ability to operate, not just the M210, but really any mill.
As far as a lower, I guess lower. No, I mean, the electrical components are. There's no reason why you couldn't run them well into the sub 0 degrees Celsius. I don't know, Jonathan, what's that, sub 37?
Sub 32.
Yeah, is it 32?
And yeah, the top limit, definitely, the machine itself doesn't have a top limit, but if you're trying to mill in, you know, in the 25 degrees C or 30 degrees C, it's not going to do a fantastic job. It'll still, you know, mill the product, but you definitely want to be in the cooler, you know, area for better milling.
Cool, thank you. Next question is from Daryl. Is the contact surfaces of the M210, is it stainless 316 is his question?
Yeah, so standard mills are 304 stainless, and we do have an option for 316 product contact surfaces.
Cool. Okay, thanks very much. Next up is from Louis. So he was asking about the realistic throughput on the M210. So, how many pounds per hour if you've got flour, or if you've got some trim, or if you're doing fresh frozen product?
Terry, I know you're going to have way more knowledge on this, but if I can just jump in, and I can tell you what my firsthand experience is. We did a partnership with a local extracting company, hoping to get some lab analysis and data back. Bottom line is, we ran pretty well all day, probably about a 6-hour day, and we ran an equal portion through our finest, our mid, and our coarsest screen. And among the three of them, we achieved an average of 92 pounds per hour on that particular day. So you can achieve up to 110 pounds per hour. The finer you go, the more that's going to come down. But in that particular instance, running 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, it averaged out to 92 pounds an hour as per our lab analysis. Terry, anything you want to expand on that?
Yeah, it really depends on the product, the moisture content, and the output. I mean, if you're going to a 3/8 output, like a 3/8 diameter screen, and just kind of chunking it up for a cold pass ethanol extraction, I mean, you could definitely do a couple 100 pounds an hour, maybe even more. We've seen the highest we've ever heard reported is kind of 250. If you're doing the finest size, if you're trying to get to the finest particle size, and if you're milling, little marbles of high THC nug, kind of the worst case is in the 40 to 50 pound an hour, and that would be absolute worst case. Trying to get it to super fine particle size for a CO2 extraction.
Cool. One more question from Theo. So, what rasp size for pre-roll are you find the least amount of stems making their way into pre-rolls themselves? So he's asking, I think, if we ever find that we need to sift after milling.
Yeah, I would say the finer rasp does definitely capture a little more of that stem matter. It almost acts as a sieve. So we do find some clients they'll mill a couple pounds, and then as long as it's nice and dry, they'll just clean the stems out of the screen if there is a little bit of stem, or those bud cores. So I would say, yeah, the finer screen is a little bit better for keeping those stems out of the finished product. But we get a lot of conflicting results as to what's better for pre-roll, the pre-roll itself. So I wouldn't want to comment on that.
Okay, sure. And that just about does it. One last question from Angelo. Where can I get a grinded out t-shirt?
That's a great one. I guess how many people we have on this webinar? 175. I can tell you we don't have that many t-shirts, so please don't flood us. But if you were to hit us up at info@mobiustrimmer.com, we'll do our best to put smiles on people's faces. Let's say that. No promises, but Angelo, go ahead and shoot me an email, info@mobiustrimmer.com, or that'll do it, and we'll take care of it from there.
Excellent. So any other last words? Anything else you guys like to mention before we shut it down?
Yeah, really, I just want to say thanks to everybody for coming on out. Terry, thanks a million for co-hosting. Unfortunately, Terry and I are on sort of about 5,000 kilometers away from each other or something like that. So can't wait to get together for a beer with you, Terry. Thanks a million for your expertise and your insight there. And thanks everybody for joining.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate everyone taking the time to come out, and if there's any questions offline, be sure to hit up info at Mobius Trimmer.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Don't forget, we're going to be sending this out to everybody afterwards in a recorded version. Any other questions, you can always hit us up, just like they said. And don't forget to keep those requests for the next topic, next webinar topic coming. And thanks very much for joining us, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Great. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Take care, guys.
Cheers.